Here's those boards that I was talking about yesterday. These are the ones that I gotta get ripped down into them lath. But anyhow, as you can see, I got 7 left right there that I ripped 2 down yesterday. I didn't get the rest of them ripped down like I wanted to, but I'm gonna do today. But there's 7 of them. One of them's about 5 feet, the rest are about 4 or just over maybe. This one board here I thought was an 8-footer. Actually, it's only about 6 feet, 6.5 feet. And then that one over there I thought might be 8-footer. It's about 4 inches shy of being 8 foot. And then there's the other 2 long ones. I was guessing 10 feet, which I think that's pretty close. But anyhow, those are the boards. I'm gonna get started ripping these down and get the rest of this project going and record it so you guys can see. Hello everyone. As you see, I got 2 boards sitting here, and what these are is a simple jig to draw your arch. You have to have an arch line kind of arching going up to the center point and then arching back down to the end point over here. That's going to be the one end of your bow and the other end of your other bow. Like I said, it's going to take 2 bows to make a arch. But anyhow, this is a simple jig. What you need is 2 boards, thin boards like that, to have a nice straight edge. Right here's the center point. This is 4 feet. This 4 foot mark from that screw over, you know, to here. That's 4 foot. But anyhow, the board has to be long enough to be able to go from that screw to this screw, because what you're going to do is how these boards are laying right now. That one's parallel with this edge, and this one goes down an angle from that screw to that screw. I'm going to fasten these 2 together right here. I'm going to fasten this together, and then what you do is you put a marker or pencil here and you start sliding this. You keep your pencil right there and you slide this board. The edge of this board will be riding against this screw, and the edge of this board will be riding against that screw. So in other words, you're just going to start rotating it around and keep that up against that screw and have your marker right here, pencil right here, and it's going to travel around and make your arch, or make your line, your bow. And then you do the same thing here. Then you'll tip this board down to that screw, and then the edge of this board will ride against this screw, and the edge of this board will ride against that screw. And both sides of that line from that screw point, it'll be the same contour of that arch. I hope I didn't confuse you guys on that. I'll try and set my camera down and maybe get a shot of this when I'm actually drawing those lines. So I'm gonna shut the camera off right now and get them fastened together. Well, I hope you guys can see that. It's kind of hard holding the marker and running that jig around, but as you can see, I got a line that kind of jumped there a little bit, but it just gives you, it's fairly close. But anyhow, you just follow that around. It made a bow right down to that screw. So now what you do is you set this jig back in the same spot here, but you tip this board down this direction. You start your marker here, right in the crotch where those 2 meet, and you just slide it around like this with this marker right here and riding up against that screw and that screw. And it's gonna draw the arch. See, it'll come down and meet right there, the marker will. So I'm gonna give this other side a try really quick. I won't run the camera on it though, it'll just make my video too long. Okay, I should get on this other side, maybe it'll help keep shadowing it, but right there's that line and it arches around up to this screw and goes on around down there. I done a much better job drawing that one, that garage arch. I jumped right here a little bit, but it just gives you a basic guide. I'll take this screw out and I'll take them other two screws out. I got to get some blocks screwed on here in place to have something to pull them boards against and get them to bow. And I'll show you that once I get this all set up. Hello everyone. As you see, I'm getting my jig together. I talked about blocks before. Instead of using wooden blocks, I used some angle iron. I cut short pieces, drilled some holes in them. Of course, these two I had to revamp. I put a hole right there where that screw was in the way, so I moved them out further because there's going to be another one of these lath on this side, and of course these are spacers that go in between them, and I'll explain that. But anyhow, this here is a riser to lift this outer lath up and the inner lath up in this block all on the same level, because otherwise this block, or not this block, but the lath that comes on the inside would be sitting on top of this angle iron and lifted up a little bit, and it'd be higher than this one. Because if I didn't have these in here, that'd be sitting right down on the board, and the inner one would be sitting on top of this angle iron about 1/8 of an inch higher, 1/16 to 1/8 inch higher. So this is a little bit thicker metal. I cut a bunch of these. I'm going to drill holes and get them screwed in place right by each one of these angle iron brackets. So that way these blocks and the inner lath and outer lath all the same height. But I'll explain that a little better. You'll see what I'm talking about when I actually get these screwed down and I start fastening these lath together. Another thing is this outer lath that I started bowing around is a 5-foot one, and here's a 4-foot one approximately. So there's going to be a splice here. Well, there's going to be a block right here. So as you see, I'm going to be bringing this one around like this. I'll be bending this around. So that block's going to be in between it. So they're going to be stapled. And I'm going to put glue on it and staple it. But then there's going to be an inner lath too on this side. But I'm going to go with a 5-foot one on this end. So it's going to be a solid piece coming across there. There ain't going to be two splices, one on the inside and outside. It's just going to be the splice on the outside, and over here somewhere on this next one is where it'll be the splice where these two meet up. That's why if you have 8-foot 2x4s, you can, have one solid run. You ain't got no splices. But I'm showing you how you can actually use shorter boards and still get the same accomplishments. So anyhow, I got to get some holes drilled in this and these little brackets here, get them screwed down on here, and then I'll start putting one of these together and show you what I'm talking about. Okay everybody, I got this jig all done, and now I'm starting to set up my first bow. I got them boards in place. I got my inner lath, my outer lath, and my spacers. You notice these spacers are right up against the angle iron. There's another one right up against that angle iron, and that one's up against that piece of angle iron. And if you measure, there's 9-inch space right here, 9-inch gap, 9-inch gap, and there'll be a 9-inch gap going up to this next block. Well, actually this one is going to be less gap here, because if you put this 5-inch block right up there, it comes right to where that splice is going to be. It ain't going to be on this board. It's all going to be on that. So I got to make a longer one and put in here so it comes further down onto this board, so I got something to staple to, which is fine. So the gap here isn't going to be 9 inches. It's going to be more like 7 or something. 5 or 7, depends on how long I make that board to come down in here and tie this splice, this lath and the next one, the inner lath. All you really need is a space right here for your boards that are going to tie your bows together. So every 2 feet you're going to have a bow. It'd be like every 2 feet's a stud. or every 16 inches of stud. Well, in my case, I'm doing it every 2 feet. So every 2 feet, there's going to be one of these bows. So you got to have a board that's running horizontal to tie each set of bows together, or arches together. Actually, you're going to have 2 bows put together as an arch. So you're going to have to use, I'm going to get an 8-foot 2x4 and cut some of these lath like this, and they're going to tie it. They're going to be sticking out like that, and it's going to go on up to the next set of bows, you know, and that's what's going to actually tie them together. You'll see it when I actually start putting it together, understand it more. I don't want to confuse you, but I'm going to start up the air compressor here. I'm going to put a couple staples right through here, a couple here on this side of that block, and a couple this direction, couple this direction, and then I'll also pre-drill a hole going right here and one here, and put 2 screws in there, 1 screw over here and 1 screw over here. I'm going to do that on each one of these blocks. So it'll be about 2, 4, 6, 8 staples and 2 screws holding these blocks in place and holding these 2 lath together. And when I come up here to this one where these 2 laths are they're going to butt up the ends on this one, because I'm using shorter boards to splice them. And same way over here. When I do that, I'm going to put some wood glue just to make that joint a little stronger. I got some wood glue, and I'm going to be putting glue on that piece that I slipped down in there, and then I'll staple it and screw it just to give it extra strength on this board that's going to be spliced. But I'm going to shut the camera off. I'm going to start fastening this thing together. I get this first bow all done before I actually pull it out of the jig. I'll show you what it looks like. All right, everybody, I have my first bow done. As you see, I have these clamps, these C-clamps that I use as I'm bending them around and clamp them together while I'm stapling and screwing these. As you see, well, I didn't put no screws in this one. I still got, I actually have a few screws in my pocket yet. So I got to put 2 screws in here, but I got 2 there, 2 there. Here's where the splice was, where those boards met, so I have a longer one in there. So I got 2 screws there and 2 there, 2 there, 2 there. I need to put 2 in that block, and this is a little bit longer. It comes on out. I measured another 9-inch gap here and put the next block. So somewhere right in here it's going to get cut off. Once I get all these made, I'll make sure they're all the same length. I'll cut them off, and they'll be cut at an angle. They'll be cut at an angle right here to line up with the header board. So you'll see that process later. Sorry about the air compressor kicking on. But anyhow, I'm going to put a couple screws in there, a couple screws in that block, and then I'm going to take these clamps off and I'll pull that bow out and I'll show you the bow. All right, everybody. As you can see, I took the bow out of the jig. See, it's got quite an arch there. I have 9 more of these to do. And of course, 2 of them will be fastened together at that end to make a upside down U, basically. And so I have 5 sets of them. So I need 10 of these bows. I got 9 more to build. Now you can see my jig, or those brackets there. My first board I stuck right in between these 2 here, hold it in place, and I started pulling it back up against this one and this one and this one. I just pull it back, and then I set these blocks in place, each one, put one there, put another one right here, another one right here, and then I stick my next board on this side and push it up against there, and then I put a clamp right here, and then I come over here and put a clamping these 2 lath together, like where these blocks are at. As you can see, there's a dent mark where I was clamping that one. But anyhow, these C-clamps, that's what I use. I got 3 of them here. I need to see if I can find some more small ones like this. This is something that I found in Roger's stuff when I cleaned up his place. I gotta see if I can find a couple more of them. I have some bigger ones somewhere, but these small ones work fine on this. So anyhow, I can get by with the 3, but if 4 or 5 of them, I could actually get it clamped down more spots and staple it and screw it together a lot quicker, because I have to undo a clamp and move it over to the next spot. but I'm getting it done. I'll end up making 9 more of these. Once I get them done, that'll be the next video. I'll show you how I cut the ends to line up on the ridge beam, and I'll get the base built to where I can fasten this end to the base, which is actually the base of the wall. And these are actually going to be the wall. They're just arches, just like my chicken house. Well, I'm going to let you go. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it didn't confuse you too much. See y'all later, and don't forget I love you. Bye.